Nintendo Switch 2 is finally here, and it's not just an upgrade, it's a complete evolution. We're talking a bigger 1080p screen, redesigned Joy-Cons, 4K dock gameplay, and brand new launch titles you won't find anywhere else. But is it really worth upgrading from your current Switch? I'm unboxing it right now, testing in handheld, dock, and tabletop mode. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly if the Switch 2 is worth your money or not. So let's get into it. Right out of the box, the Nintendo Switch 2 feels premium. Inside, you'll find a console with its new larger screen. We've got redesigned Joy-Cons, a beefier dock, power adapter, HDMI cables, updated Joy-Con grips, and some paperwork. Now usually whenever I get a new device with a screen like this, whether it's a phone or a PlayStation Portal or anything like that, the very first thing I do is put on the tempered glass or a screen protector. So before I get into the rest of this video, that's what I'm gonna do. I'll make sure I put this on. And by the way, this is probably one of the easiest screen applications I've ever done. You pretty much, it's already fitted. You put it on top, you just push it down. And then once you pick it up, you peel the strip and it's good to go. Check this out. Look how beautiful and clean that looks. Now I know in this video, there's a small bubble over there to the right. And I caught that after recording this and I smoothed it out. So don't worry about that. It's gone. Now that we got the screen taken care of, let's take a look at the rest of the design. It's got a new kickstand, or at least a new design. The Nintendo Switch OLED, the kickstand folded way back like this one does, but it's just a different design for it. It was more full, this one's a little bit more cut out. All in all, it's basically the same design, just a little bit more beefier and a lot more powerful. Next, let's take a closer look at these Joy-Cons. And I had the original Nintendo Switch where it was all black. I didn't have it with the red and the blue on the sides. And I also had the Nintendo Switch OLED, which had the white controllers. So it's nice that I finally get the ones with the blue and the red. And actually, I like this design a lot more. It's more subtle, and it still has that nice black design that I like on most of my tech devices. But the hint of the neon on it really makes it pop. Also, I like how these controllers feel a lot more than the other ones. The joysticks feel a lot more like traditional thumbsticks, because the old Nintendo Switch, the thumbsticks feel a little bit more smaller, a little bit more flimsier. It could still be a little bit more thick, but it's better than what it was. Because when I used to play games like shooting games, it's kind of hard to track with those flimsy joysticks. So I try to put on different types of grips or whatever to help with that precision, but we'll test it out and see if this works better. But for right now, it definitely feels a lot better. Next up in the box, we basically have our instructions, and I mean, it's just the typical stuff, you know, warranties and things like that. And so nothing really to see here, just safety stuff, but you can read through it if you want to. But I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next thing. This, we have our HDMI cable that comes with it. So I'm not quite sure if this is actually HDMI 2.1 or not, because I know like on a PS5, you need to have a HDMI 2.1 cable in order to achieve 120 FPS. And now since the Nintendo Switch 2 can achieve 120 frames per second, I wonder if this is HDMI 2.1. I'm actually going to have to look into that. But whether you had a Nintendo Switch prior to this, or this is your first one, I would recommend using this cord, because if it is a 2.1, this is the cord that you need to achieve those frames, just to be on the safe side. I know some people probably had an old Nintendo Switch and they use their old HDMI cable, but I really recommend using the cable that comes in the box. And these are the new Joy-Con. I don't even know what you really call these, but they go on the ends of the Joy-Con, I guess, to kind of protect it and provide more stable buttons. But as far as the Nintendo Switch 2 goes, you see these black things right here? They're kind of like, they're not magnetic, I thought they were, but they provide a better glide on the table when you use it in mouse mode. So whenever you're using for certain games that provide mouse precision, or if you just want to use it on your UI screen, or actually, I don't know if you can use it in Fortnite or for aiming, but basically it provides a better, smoother experience when using the mouse mode. Here we have the Joy-Con grip. So you could take your little Joy-Cons, you can slide them into this right here, and it makes a full controller, which this basically looks the same as the old one. It's got a nice little branding there, and it basically looks and feels just like the original. And on the sides right here is with the magnetically, you can slide in the Joy-Cons, which is a huge welcome addition on how you connect and detach the Joy-Cons from the Joy-Con grip and the device itself. Next, we have a charging dock. This one is definitely noticeably bigger and thicker than the other one, because on the bottom of here it looks like it has some fans to keep it cooling down, because it's a more powerful system, so it's going to require a lot more power, especially if you're going to output to 4K. So it has built-in fans. It still has the HDMI port, the power port, and also an Ethernet cord like it came on OLED. So it's a little bit more rounded too. which is kind of a nice touch. But that's basically it. Nintendo branded and 2 USB ports on the side. And that's the dock. We also have the power adapter, which you're obviously going to need to either charge it up or to put it in your dock and to power it up. And then also we have the USB-C to USB-C cable. So it's pretty standard. They come in all Nintendo Switch boxes. Again, I would always recommend to use the Nintendo branded cords. In theory, you should be able to use any USB-C to USB-C cable, but they're not all built the same. So always recommend using Nintendo branded ones. And this right here is the power adapter to plug in to charge your Nintendo Switch whenever you're not using it in dock mode. Pretty straightforward. Now let's connect the Joy-Cons to the console. I'm actually surprised I haven't done it this far into it, but I just want to go through the unboxing and make sure you see everything that comes in the box. So the new Joy-Cons have gotten a complete revamp. They're slightly wider, definitely taller with the more ergonomic curves. The analog sticks have been redesigned to combat drift issues, which is nice. See how they just snap in? That magnetic pull is nice. They feel great, the buttons are nice and clicky, and definitely better than the last ones. And just to get a little bit more detail on the screen, is a new 7.9-inch screen. It is not OLED, unfortunately, it is LCD, but I will say it's one of the nicer LCD screens I've seen, much like the PlayStation Portal, to where you don't even really notice it unless you're looking at really dark areas to where you need to see those inky blacks. Since it's a more powerful, capable device, it'll take a lot more power to power up and run an OLED screen, which would significantly impact the battery life on this, so that's probably why they elected not to go that route on this device. Now, the detaching of the Joy-Cons is so much easier. You just push this button and it pushes the separation of the magnets and it just pushes right off. So that is a nice welcome addition right there. You see this little button right here, it kind of pushes out and it separates the magnet and it just snaps off and snaps right back. So that is definitely a more welcome addition. The old system with the rails, it was not always the most seamless way to take it off, but these right here, once you get it down, it just pulls right off. So it's way better than what it was. So that is definitely an improvement right there. So let's just snap this bad boy right back in. So now let's just go ahead and put this on the Joy-Con grip controller. Again, so much easier to snap these off. You just take it, snaps right in just like on the device itself. And this is basically exactly how it felt and looked on the original Switch, which has always been an innovative way to make another controller. So I've always been a fan of this. You got your nice Nintendo branding on the back. There are no paddles on the back, which would have been cool, but not necessary. Now let's go through the setup process. It's pretty seamless whether this is your first Switch or you're setting up a new one. You basically sign into your Nintendo account. If you don't already have one, you make one. And you can transfer your data wirelessly from a previous console. One thing I want to touch on before I move forward, you cannot use your old micro SDs. You have to have a micro SD Express, which I learned the hard way because I tried to just take one out my old Switch, pop it into the slot right here, and you will see the message that I get. Basically, you're being told this is a no-go, so you'll have to reinvest into a different micro SD card. As far as I know, you have to get the Express. So there's that. The new UI is faster and a little bit cleaner. It's basically the same design, but it's a little bit more rounded on how the menus look. And so it has a more futuristic look to it, which I like. The animations are smoother, the menus load instantly, and multitasking has finally been improved. You can now suspend a game, check the eShop or home screen, and then jump right back in. They also utilize these things called virtual cards, which I guess is a way of if you purchase something, you can basically re-download it again. But it's like having a license on your device to be able to play it. So I'm not sure yet if 2 devices can play the same virtual card. I'm gonna have to test that out. But I guess it's basically a way of designating your primary device. And since I got the Mario Kart World bundle, I was able, as soon as I log into the eShop, it immediately told me, hey, you can download your game, which is nice that I don't have to jump through any hoops to try to figure this out. So just click on that and download it. And then you just continue shopping or do whatever you want to do. Download your old games, add your virtual card, and you're good to go. Now, when it comes to linking your old console and claiming your virtual cards, it took me a little bit to figure this out, but this is basically how you do it. So you have to bring it close. You have to click link on the primary device, the new Switch 2, and you also have to go to virtual card section on your original Switch and hit link. What I was doing the first time was I was just expecting everything to work straight off the Switch 2, but without authorizing it off your old console, it won't work. But I do think there is a way that you can go on Nintendo Online and also do this if you happen to trade in your old Switch. So you shouldn't have to worry about that. But once it's connected, you just go to load virtual card. It'll slide it in and it's loaded. I haven't found a way to select multiple virtual cards at once. So you have to do this one by one, unfortunately, as far as I know. But you just go back to the virtual card section, select the game that you want to load. In this case, I'm going to do Super Mario 3D World, and you'll load the system, hit A again, and after like 3 seconds, it'll go ahead and pop it into your Switch 2, and you now have a license to play that game. Now, I know we talked about the Joy-Cons before, but man, just look at these. Look how nice that looks. Like an all black tech device is always the best way to go, in my opinion. But like the hint of that neon pop is just like really, really nice. And here they both are together, and then this is what they sound like when they connect. Man, how satisfying is that? Also, the matte black is really nice to have. So next, I'm going to take these off, and I'm going to show you what it's like doing the mouse mode. I don't know what they officially call it, but that's what I call it. So you take these, and I put it on wrong the first time. Like I said, the black part is actually for the table itself. It helps it glide. So you put it on this way, and it fits on pretty nicely, actually. Like you don't really have to force anything. Line up the plus with the plus, and then you grab the other controller, and you line up the minus sign with the minus sign. So I learned from the first time, the black side goes on the bottom. That's for the table, and slide it right on there. Here's a close-up of what they both look like side by side with the new, I don't know what you want to call it, covers or the mouse things, but yeah, it looks really nice. It's really slick. So here's right here where I set up the tabletop mode, take out the kickstand, and let's see what this bad boy is like when it comes to using the mouse. Again, this is new technology for Nintendo, and it's kind of working off the same technology as the Wii, but like it actually works like really well. Like I can't really believe that it's really a mouse in this. Nintendo continues to innovate, and this is just another example of that. Like this is crazy. You can use it on both too. Just in case it's a close-up of what it looks like moving around. Yeah, like it just works. Now when it comes to games, there aren't really a lot of games for Nintendo Switch 2 at launch because it is backwards compatible, so you're not really like missing out on your old games, so you're not really restricted. But Donkey Kong Bonanza's one has just dropped. Mario Kart World, of course, is what most people probably play. You have Hogwarts Legacy, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. You also have Split Fiction. You have Zelda Breath of the Wild, and you have Tears of the Kingdom, which both have a Switch 2 upgrade. So if you have Nintendo Switch Online, like the higher tier, you get those DLCs for free. If not, I think it's like $10 or $20 to upgrade to the Switch 2 version, which is a pretty good deal if you want to run it in its, the highest frames and best fidelity. But the game I'm most excited to play is Mario Kart World. It looks like it's a really good time, especially for the family. So my son is coming of age, and I'm sure he's gonna have a ball playing this. So here's where I'm gonna show you a comparison of what it looks like to the old Switch. Now, I have the Nintendo Switch OLED right now. I don't have the original one, but this one is a 7-inch screen. The old one was a 6.2. So you can see how much bigger it is compared to this one, and then just imagine what it's like compared to like the original Switch. A 6.2 to a 7.9. Like I said, this right here is a 7-inch screen compared to a 7.9-inch screen, and it's already a huge difference. So to go from a 6.2-inch screen to a 7.9-inch screen, like there's no way I think I could ever go back. And here's another look at what it looks like from the top up. Try to line up as best as possible. But yeah, it's a massive difference, man. Like it's really nice to have this larger screen, and this is what it looks like from side to side. Line it up as perfectly as possible, and that's how much extra screen you get there. And these are just more shots and angles of the screen difference. I'm really just trying to like show you from every possible angle that I can, like the screen difference. Sitting top up like this, put it on the sides, you can see exactly how much wider it is. It's nice, like there's no complaints there. And this is going to be an example of what the Switch Joy-Cons look like. So it's definitely taller, It's about the same thickness, I would say, maybe a little bit slimmer actually. Yeah, and even the buttons are bigger, so that's nice. Yeah, it's basically the same design. The ergonomics probably feel a little bit more comfortable in the new Switch, but yeah, basically the same thing. And here's the other side. I don't know why for some reason this one looks smaller and bigger compared to the other ones, but yeah, it's way better. It feels way better, and yeah, it definitely an improvement. And as I mentioned earlier, the thumbsticks are definitely wider at the base. You can see right there on the red one is definitely a wider base, more like a traditional thumbstick. The other one is way more slim and flimsier, and it really makes it hard to aim. So I'm glad that they made that change. Let me see if I can get another look here, but it's night and day, the base of the thumbsticks. And here's a side-by-side of what they all look like together. It's definitely taller, but yeah, it's way better. And this little button right here is the new chat control underneath the home screen button, which allows you to now chat with other people, which Nintendo's kind of restricted on, but I think it's probably for privacy reasons. And here's what it looks like on the old Switch. There's no button there, so. And here's what the design looks like from the top, same power button, volume button, but the speaker grills is a lot bigger. It's also probably used for cooling down. You got a USB-C button at the top, head jack, and you got your card. And you know what? Now, this is one thing I want to talk about here actually. When it comes to saving gameplay or screenshots, it is so much better now. So now you can actually just save your gameplay or whatever, and you can upload it straight to the cloud and download it from your Nintendo Switch app. Seamless, just like on PlayStation. The old process, you had to scan the QR code, connect to a MAC address, and download it that way. It's just a terrible process. And here's a quick little test on how fast it loads now. So if you go online on Nintendo eShop, it loads up faster, and then it loads all the information a lot faster too. So, is the Nintendo Switch 2 worth buying? At first, I was on the fence about it. I was like, it's not really that big of a difference. You know, it's new, a little shinier, you know, a little beefier in the hardware, but then actually holding it and then going back and holding the old one, it's definitely, in my opinion, worth the upgrade. It feels better in the hand ergonomically. You now can get 4K instead of just 1080p when you're docked to the TV, and now you can get 1080p handheld instead of just a 720, which is crazy to even think that people are still doing that in 2025. And then also you get 120 frames per second, which is definitely a next-gen standard. Much like a PS5 compared to a PS5 Pro, it doesn't reinvent anything, but it just refines everything that existed already. And I would kind of compare this to more of like going from a PS4 to a PS4 Pro, where you actually got the 4K added to it, to where it felt like a much more significant upgrade. So I would say yes, if you care about a performance boost, a sharper screen, 4K imaging, improved controls, like true next gen upgrade. But then I'll say no if the individual feels like they're just fine with the one they have, and they also feel like there's not a big library of Switch 2 specific games, which is completely understandable. So the answer to it really honestly depends on you. What are you looking for out of the Switch 2? Some people not having OLED is a deal breaker. Some people it's not. But there's a reason they probably didn't put the OLED in there. Some people think it's just so they can sell it to you later, which may or may not be true. But also at the same time, people aren't really thinking about the power consumption it's going to take to power the OLED with this new improved engine, I guess you could say, under the hood of the Switch 2. And if you were to add OLED to that, the battery life would probably last maybe an hour. Until they can get that figured out, I will say this is one of the nicer LCD screens I've seen, much like the PlayStation Portal. But if you're looking for an official final verdict from me, if that's what you want to hear, I would say yes. For all the reasons I listed. Bigger screen, better feeling controls, more controls with the mouse thing, more powerful, more frames, 4K imaging, and you're not just locked to Switch 2 games only. You can still play the majority of your back catalog, so you're not really missing out on anything. You can still play everything that you have, but just better. So if you enjoyed today's video or found it helpful, please leave a like, comment, let me know, are you gonna get the Switch 2 or not? How do you really feel about it? Share this video with a friend and consider subscribing if you enjoyed the content. And I'll catch you in the next one.